trust you.
Might throw it.
Yeah.
You use that when somebody asks you an injury question.
Yeah. We right know where to go. Happy Monday. We closed a chapter on the game Saturday. Obviously, disappointing loss. We didn't get what we wanted out of our team. I think, as I told you, I forget what I said Saturday after the game, but we kind of played it like as the opener. We're going to really find out what we need to improve on. I think, as a football coach, that's what you do. As you think about this, is kind of why they call us coach. I told our staff that yesterday afternoon, is to fix the problems, and that's, you don't know if there's no problems, you can't fix it. If you don't know, what the issues are, you can't fix things. And now I think we have an idea of what we need to do. This communication, that communication, whatever it is, and really all phases of the game. I thought the special teams played really well on a positive note, and then defensively we played a really good second half. Offensively, we had some spurts in the second half. We played really well, but we did a lot of things. I mean, offense is in fact, defensively, same thing of offensively. It's whether it's one or two guys, the most critical guys, not doing their part in a football game, and we got a couple runs, defensively where got one guy going the wrong way. One guy, so we always talk 1 of 11. Do your 1 of 11 on defense, but if you got 10 of 11 guys doing the right thing, you got a problem. And that appeared on the tape. It appeared, on the offense tape as well. As you look at it, so there was a lot of issues as far as just a lot of uncharacteristic issues that you get exposed with when you're playing a good football team. So, but got a lot of faith in what we do. And again, it starts with me. When you talk about the blame, and you guys could just all point the finger right here at me because I didn't get them ready to go. I'll take full responsibility, and again, we'll move on and have a great week this week. So backyard brawl. So
Did you notice they weren't ready to go?
no, they were ready to go. Mm-hmm. They were not ready to go. Maybe you started fast. Maybe they thought, I don't know what they thought. We actually asked them what they thought last night. Hey, were you locked in? Oh yeah, coach, we were locked in. Well, why did we start slow? They didn't have any answers. But I just want to make sure, you look in the mirror and find out why. And whatever you did, whatever that locked in wasn't locked in enough. And I think we got them there. And quite honestly, you had a chance to win the football game. And I thought we did not play great at all. I mean, we played below average football for most of the game, and still had a chance to win the game at the end. And that's the crazy part about it. It happens. It happens in life. I mean, sometimes that happens in every part of your life. So, we'll regather, close the chapter, and move on.
We had a lot of difference between the defense in the first half and the second half in the run game. What was the biggest difference in the margin you saw of error? Because when we talked to Shane, he talked about inside zones, outside zones, and reading keys. In the second half, you guys did dominate. Now that you've had time to look at it, what was it?
Just little tiny things. I mean, looking at Shane, watching the tape, I mean, he's pointing one time, like they had unbalanced set, he's pointing at the tight end who's over there. Well, then he forgets to do anything else. Like, there's a lot of things going on. And that doesn't even mean, he's just trying to over communicate, trying to do his job as a mic. Mm-hmm. And, DNs are pointing, Sammy O's pointing. It's like, who cares about that guy? Get lined up and read your key, whatever that may be. So that's just one minor thing. But those are all over the field. So it's details. And, we talk all the time about, in fact, it's one of the things I talked about before we left the hotel was, if you take care of the little things, the big things will take care of themselves. If you don't take care of little things, and again, it's the same thing on offense. If you rush around, these guys are trying to run as fast as they can. But you got to remember, just as fast as you can is not always the best. It's detailed the best you can. And those all affect everybody. And, we didn't do a good job pass protecting up front at all. I think out of 44 plays, Coach Siggs had written down we had 25 pass protection issues. But again, you're trying to play hard, you're trying to be aggressive, you want to punch that guy, and you move too hard this way, and all of a sudden someone loops and you can't react. Like, so you gotta be under control, and you can be cranked up and ready to go, but if you don't play under control and do your job, you have issues. But we'll learn from it. That's a great thing, is you learn from it.
On Saturday night, Corleone said in the second half you guys started blocking him one-on-one. Was that an adjustment you guys made at halftime, or was that just like checks at the line by Jake? How did he get into those situations?
It all depends on what the the protection was, number one. defensive linemen, they always got little things. We ran the ball more in the first half. Okay, then you got into a passing game, so there's going to be more. I mean, when you're playing, 3 down, that guy's going to be on it. The guard's got to kind of, sift for the defensive end, what's going on. If there's 2 guys coming off the edge, well, a guard can't help. So it all depends on what the pressure is. To answer your question.
Pat, when you got the ball to start the game, came out and threw 3 passes, was that scripted or was that something that was being seen on defense?
It was something being seen on defense, and me and Coach Cincinnati talked about that, and he's like, I wish I could do it over again. It's like, but that's part of it. You got your plan about what you want to go in there, and we got to have a better plan. Again, that's why I say it's coaches. It starts with me and it trickles down. We can do a better job putting our kids in better position to make plays.
There's a lot of elements that go into the outcome of a football game: execution, talent, scheme. Was it more execution Saturday night than anything else?
Again, I think it starts with the coach. As Amanda talked about, the 3 passes start off. I was kind of the same way, Amanda, going 3 passes. Like, I want to run the ball. And then if you'd have known that you were going to be passing the ball in the second half, you'd have run those balls. You'd had 3 straight runs. What was your question again?
Execution, talent, or scheme.
It's everything. It's not. It's never one thing. I think everybody wants to put. You guys all want to put your finger on this one thing that it is, and it's everything. And again, it ain't the quarterback. It ain't just the O-line. It's the receivers. It's the tight ends. Why didn't the receiver peek back? I mean, they got to peek back when we're throwing hot. And you didn't look back. Like, what quarterback wants to throw it to you, and then he gets hit because you didn't look back. So, all those things play into it. But it's never just one thing. It's execution. There's not a coach in the country that doesn't come after a game like that and go, man, I wish I would have done that. You don't watch tape on defense going, man, that was a great call. Every one of my calls were great, by the way. These guys didn't execute. It just doesn't work that way. That's not how a team works. That's not how we think. That's just not in our DNA. We can always be better. And we put down on tape if it's structure, if it's physical, mental. I mean, you talked about, all those things. I mean, every play we break down, I think I've told you this in the past, it's mental, physical, structural. Structural means, man, what a crappy call that is. Man, they had a good defense for our play, and that happens in games. We don't know exactly what they're in. So you try to eliminate those, and we can always be better, and you can have a better gauge on what our guys can do as well. So.
Pat, how do
You
you
also want to coach up the guys who make mistakes, but is there also some temptation to give some other guys some opportunities because of some of the things you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to. I mean, but you want to see the same mistakes happen the next week when that guy gets in there. So little by little, yes.
Pat, you brought up over communication when it came to Shane and some of the checks that he was doing pre-snap. Is it easier to correct over communication or a lack of communication from your experience?
It's easier for Shane to, it's easier to have over communication. I'd rather have the over communicator and he's like, I got it, coach. That doesn't mean anything. They were worried about a trick play. I won't mention what it is. They're worried about a trick play, and that's why they wanted. He's pointing so the safeties. Anytime a tight end is there by himself and it looks like he's in an offensive tackle's position, you're worried about him. It's unbalanced, but he's eligible. Okay, sometimes unbalanced, he's ineligible, and they cover him up. But they were worried about it because he was eligible because they looked out and saw the receiver. So they were just worried about a trick play where someone would turn a guy loose and give up a big play. So over communication is a lot better, but they got to understand that once you point, we're good. Move on and get your job done too, because we can't have all the focus over here and then they go run the ball over there and you don't even know.
How do you feel your safeties played Saturday?
You know what? Solid at times. I thought Donovan Bill played a good games. Javon McIntyre played pretty solid. PJ, played a little soft at times. We'd like him to be a little tighter coverage, but that goes with Eric Howlett and DeMar Hamlin were the same way. At his age, so it's all just a feel in the game, and it takes experience too. I mean, it's not something that just comes automatic. So we'll tighten up that this week and make it better.
Donovan played a lot in the second half. I think after the first 2 series, I think he was in for the rest of the half. I mean, is he making a case for more playing time? Do you get more 50-50 or more rotation?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, that's what we're waiting to see. And that's what you try to figure out who these guys are, what they're doing, and how they're playing. But he played good, and there's no question about it.
Pat, what do you need to see better from Phil?
Get the ball out quicker. Again, when you get hit 21 times, okay, and any NFL quarterback can tell you when you get hit 21 times in a game and you get hit early when you shouldn't, you're going to struggle. So like everybody wants to point the finger at Phil, and again, that's why you try to say, not say too much prior to watching the videotape, and then when you watch a videotape, it's a lot more than him, knowing where to go with the ball. I mean, he knows where to go with the ball. It's just getting everything to be the right way, keeping, as we talked a week ago, we got to clean up our protections. We got to keep it cleaner, and it wasn't good enough versus better competition. If it wasn't good enough the week before, and then all of a sudden you step to competition, we're going to see the same front out of West Virginia this week, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of the same blitzes. So we'll be, preparing for West Virginia's defense, and we'll be cleaning up, all the blitzes we saw against Cincinnati.
Pat, on the note of Phil, he had some strong words about the crowd's reception to the offense's play in the second half. I was wondering, what your thoughts were on his reaction to the booing and your personal reaction to your offense getting booed.
Yeah, you probably booed me. I didn't, number one, I don't hear it, and fans are going to be passionate. I really don't care about the guy that's in his basement on Twitter. I hope our kids don't listen to that, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you want to do. But I'm not dealing with it. I'm not the guy in the basement, and we're disappointed enough. We're going to stay positive in this room, and that's kind of all I got to say about that.
Did you have any words for Phil about his comments?
No.
Pat, looking at West Virginia, they don't have.
Didn't really hear about it. It doesn't really matter.
Sorry, looking at West Virginia, they don't have a guy like Fort Wheaton who was really a big factor in last year's game, but they still have Donaldson at tailback, though he might be less of a surprise this year. What do you expect to see from West Virginia on offense this week?
Well, C.J. Donaldson's a good football player. Green, the quarterback's athletic. He's a weapon. They like to run the football. They got a bunch of RPOs. Again, C.J.'s 240 pounds. He's a load. He's hard to get down. Again, our opener last year seemed like our opener this year against Cincinnati. So hopefully, we'll be tied in more. Just we've seen live bullets in the game. It won't be a surprise as much as it was last year. So I think we're better prepared, but they're better prepared. They got experience. I think they got 9 guys returning on offense. Their entire line and tight end are back. Neil Brown does a great job scheming you up. He's obviously calling the plays as well, so I think he does a good job play calling as well. I don't think he called them last year, so we'll have a totally different play caller. They do a lot of different stuff, and it's like preparing for a whole different offense. Although they saw some of our weaknesses a year ago, so they do a good job scheming you up. With formation of boundary and some different things that got us that we'll hopefully be more prepared for. But he's not going to go back there, I'm assuming, and we'll still practice it, but he's not going to go back to the same stuff. He'll find some other stuff that he'll try to pick on it. And Louisville did a great job as well. I mean, Cincinnati, Louisville, whatever, Satterfield did a great job of seeing different stuff that we'd never seen before either.
When you look at your guard positions, how does Ryan Baer factor in? Either as an option coming back in there, because you have him there a little bit in the spring, or 70 tackle, maybe not one of your tackles?
Yeah. Big discussion. Ryan Baer's a great player. He's kind of like that third tackle, and you got to be careful of repping a guy, in different positions. And again, he's master of all, jack of all, master of none. And that's our concern with a young guy like that. We want him to be that next tackle going in and get him prepared to play right and left, whatever we want to do there. But play him at 3 different spots. Are we doing him a disservice? He certainly could go in there and play guard. We'll look at it this week and find out what our best options are. You look at BJ. Williams took his first game reps, and he's going to get better. He's going to learn a lot. From really that game 2 to game 3. For him, game 1 to game 2 of just being in there. He was nervous the week before coming in mop-up duty against Wofford. He was because I was nervous, but after the first play I was good. So I can't imagine what he was out there starting. So, but sometimes you gotta learn that way.
Pat, just looking at what West Virginia does well, I mean, running the ball, defensive line play, do you feel like you guys are going to see a lot of the same challenges, maybe through different schemes that you faced this past week?
Yeah, and combination of what we saw last year. So, and they rushed for 190 yards a year ago against us in the opener, and had a couple big plays. We can't let what happened Saturday happen again defensively. We got to come out, and it doesn't matter what they throw at you. We got to react the right way. We've seen a lot of different stuff through camp. And again, we'll show them a bunch of different stuff this week and try to prepare as well as we can without knowing exactly how they want to attack us, with Coach Brown, making the call. So you got to react and read your keys and just, do your 111.
You want to play West Virginia every year?
Yeah.
Pat, you've never had the chance to coach in Morgantown for an away game. I mean, are you excited? Do you like coaching?
As
in
a head
these?
coach, I haven't. But
As
I
a
have
head
coached,
coach,
yeah.
I'm saying, yeah. Do
Yeah.
you enjoy coaching in these hostile environments, these big rivalry
I
games?
think every player and coach does. I mean, I like coaching, period. I like playing wherever we get to play. I like going to different places. I think that's all part of the pageantry of college football. So, yeah, I think everybody embraces that.
Matt, you mentioned it was your first one as head coach. What did you learn about the rivalry from that matchup last year?
We'll learn more going down there. I think the kids will really learn what the rivalry is on the road and how hostile it is. But, rivalries are rivalries, Jeff. I mean, it's, nothing more than any other, game for me. We know we're down, just down the road. But it's a football game. That means a lot to a lot of people. I think Pitt fans are passionate. West Virginia fans are passionate. And it comes down to passion. So, people want to see you play well in those games. So.
Does it remind you of Ann Arbor versus East Lansing?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, no question, Cincinnati versus Miami of Ohio, that big rivalry we had there. I mean, there's all those rivalry games. Notre Dame versus Michigan State. There's a bunch of them out there. So yeah, I mean, I would say that's a big rivalry game.
Is there any chance that you think any of your players could have overlooked Cincinnati and been looking ahead towards West Virginia because of the rivalry?
You know what, man? If I knew that, I'd have put a stop to that. I don't think so. I don't know how you overlook Cincinnati. Trying to play them up, and I think it's how we executed, and we got to get better. And, I don't think that, but I mean, when you hear of a team playing in the in the playoffs, the team playing in the playoffs and the team not playing in the playoffs, which one are you thinking about? I'm thinking about the one that's right in front of us. But hey, I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook and knowing what everybody's looking at and hearing about. I don't know. Maybe you guys know better than I do.
Pat, how do you grade out your safeties through 2 games? They're a new pair that are working together as starters for the first time. Now that you've had a chance to see against an FCS team and an FBS team, what are your thoughts on it?
I'd say, B- probably right now. I mean, but, give the whole defense a B- right now after, I don't even care about game 1. It doesn't even matter. I mean, it doesn't even, what do you get from that? But, B- right now and going like this. I mean, I just think we're going to continue to get better and better offensively and defensively. That's what we do. We knew we had a sky punt issue. We should have had 2 dropped inside the 1. And, we still didn't get a great punt the second one, but almost had a shot at the 1. But, just those are the things you want to get better, and you want to keep working at it, and you want to see where your weakness is so you go out. I mean, we got all kinds of good drills set up for tomorrow's practice. I mean, just little things that you got to work on throughout the practice and different stuff in team periods that, it's like, this is going to be good.
Pat, what do you see from their quarterback, Green?
I see a guy that, is athletic, 5'11" guy that's really athletic. He's a real athlete. He's physical, he's tough, he's a competitor, he's a run threat. He can throw it. He can throw all the RPOs it needs to throw. I think he's thrown for 200 yards a game, which is good when they're running the ball 70% of the time or 65% of the time. So, we got obviously games from last year that he played. And, I think he started against Oklahoma and Oklahoma State and played really well. So, I mean, he's played in big games, and I just think he's a competitor. He's a tough dude.
RPOs are pretty popular these days. Do they use RPOs more than maybe some
Yes.
other teams do?
Yes, they use them a lot.
What percentage would you say?
60%.
That's high?
That's really high. Like, it's really high. So we've been working a lot on that. That's something we haven't seen a ton of this year. So it's a whole new thing. But we've seen them in the past. But no, every run they have will have a run pass option off it. Whether it's a screen out there, whether it's vertical routes, they run some quarterback zone read. He'll keep it. They got vertical routes running out of the off the edge by 2 receivers. So there's all kinds of different ones they have. So we got to do a good job of playing those guys because they put you in a one-on-one situation, depending on what defense you're in, and you got to make plays.
How do you get your tight ends more involved, especially Gavin? It seemed like when he got more targets, the offense started flowing, or at least sparked a lot quicker. What do you guys have to do to make sure that's
Throw it to him. Yeah, throw it to him. Guess right. I mean, it's a good question, Chris. Just got to target him more, I guess. But when you got a pass game and you're in your pass game, it's more based on what they're giving you, and you know, when he's getting some shots down the top, it's cover two.
Right.
And that's where, you know, Phil's supposed to go with the ball. And one time he overthrew him, or kind of threw it behind him the one time, it was cover two. So different concepts, different plays, different coverages, all, you know, there's times they're right on him, and if they're right on him, you can't throw it to him anyway. So it depends on the coverage, he's got to get open too.
But how does a quarterback balance that where like, hey, I have a playmaker and I want to get him the ball versus I have to go where the defense is taking me? Because that seems like sometimes that can be the make or break of what makes a great play.
You know, it's hard. You can't force a ball somewhere where it can't go. So, you know, you got. It's all dictated on your reads and your progression.
Good
Easy as
easy
that.
final for wrap up.
Do you have time, or do you have the ability to go kill the call, the offensive call, play call?
If you want a bunch of delay of games,
So you don't.
I'm not messing with a defensive call unless I call timeout. You know, but you're gonna get delay game. I mean, you can't do that. And again, if you were sitting up in the box here, I wouldn't disrespect you by saying, God, Jerry, that was a terrible call. I'd say, let's see how it works, Jerry. I mean, again, you know, these calls, you know, these plays, coaching decisions, all those things are, you know, flip a coin sometimes. I mean, it depends on what they're doing. You know, was it a good call, bad call? Sometimes I'm like, no, don't do that. And, you know, in my mind, they're also like, it's a sack. It's like, oh, it's a great call. Good job. Even the first play of the game with the defensive ran, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I like this call. And it ended up being a really good call. But you don't know. But, you know, you hope everything you have on your game plan has a chance to be successful, or you wouldn't put it on the game plan. You hope everything on the game plan is, you know, has a chance to be successful, or you wouldn't have it on there. But it's got to be executed. And then there's some maybe, you know, calls that just, you know, but I hope they don't do that when I do this. But that's going to happen.
But nothing surprises you when you see the call.
No.
Or we talked about that Thursday.
Yeah. But the game plan is a game plan.
Coach, thank you very much.
All right, guys.